Evening everybody, it's been several weeks / months since we were last working on this thing, and tonight Jake and I are going to be doing the wastegate pipe. So we've got 2 pipes coming up to 1 into the wastegate, and we've just figured out how we're going to route it. So Jake's conveniently just gone and cut one of them down. This is going to be our brace for the wastegate, which we've got here. Turbo Smart 60mm, and then if I put, whoa, so we've decided we're going to sit that about there, aren't we? Yeah. So that's it roughly on the side of it. So that wants to sit about there, and then we've got plenty of room for activities for mounting piping and stuff like that. Yeah, so we're just going to go and get that tacked in place, and then we'll be back in a minute so that we can explain in better detail what we're actually doing. Okay, we are back and we're about to pull the manifold off the car now that we have the wastegate positioned. So here is what we decided on. As you can see, the little yellow bit sticking out there, there's a bit of an air gap under it. But this guy, although it does get hot, it doesn't get as hot as the other part. So we can always put a heat shield or something on it and figure that out later. But for the most part, it's mounted. Well, it's got braces on it so that we can now start to make the tubing to go into it. Yeah, so what we do now is we pull the turbo off, we pull the manifold off, we take everything down the back, and we start to construct the wastegate tubing into the wastegate. So that will probably take me the remainder of the evening. So I'll meet you back down at the fab room and we'll get things started. Back in the fab room, and I'm looking at how I'm going to be constructing these pipes. So just to give you a bit of a run through now that we've got the manifold on the vise, or on the bench, whatever you want to call it, we need to basically get a pipe from this runner and a pipe from this runner up into this wastegate. But they also need to merge together, and it needs to have a divider. So basically we're going to have to get one of these, and well, actually 2 of these, to come up into here from each runner. So the only way that I can do that is to make a small section of tube merge together and spread out and everything, so everything can go together so that the 2 pipes can join into one with the divider, etc. So here's how I'm going to do it. So I've got, this is basically an exact one of these. I've got plenty of these in the drawer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this 50mm pipe. I will cut 2 sections at roughly 70mm long, and then I will attempt to shoehorn them onto here. So it will involve me having to splay out, you know, the end so that I get them both on there, and they will sit on roughly a 15-degree angle like that. So with that being said, I'm going to go and get these chopped up, and I'll probably just have a little bit of time getting them right, and then I can explain to you how I've reached my conclusion, or how I've reached the end result. Now, I'll be honest, we normally outsource these manifolds, but this is a prime opportunity. I have 4 cars I need manifolds for, so this will be a good test run to see how everything's going to work together for when I make those on the RX-7s. Now, this is a fully custom manifold, so obviously we're not going to be using this on customers' cars, and also hence why it's made out of mild steel. Now, we have changed everything to stainless steel, but because we've got this old stock line around, that's why we're using this. So all the other cars moving forward will be stainless steel. Apart from, you know, mock-ups and stuff like that, we'll probably still make that out of mild if we've got it lying around. So yeah, anyway, so I'm going to first of all have some dinner because it's after 6, and then I'll come back and I will make the adapter, or the merge plate pipe, whatever you want to call it, and then hopefully it won't take me too long to get this together, and I can actually start piecing the tubes together tonight. Hey team, back again, and I'm closing off the night. So I didn't get as far as I would have liked. All I got done was this, and it's about 9:30, so I'm going to call it a night. So what I did is I took 2 tubes, as you can see here, cut them down, put an angle in them, and then I heated it up and beat the living shit out of it. That's really the only way I can describe how that was done. So, got a little map gas here. I just heated that up, got it really, really, really hot, and then, yeah, just basically beat it up with a hammer. Now, that is pretty close. I pull that out. Pretty close. So, it's good enough to be able to do what I need to do. And then tomorrow I can come in and I can work on making the center tongue that'll go in it, and what that'll also do is it will allow me to give it a bit more space, or I might even just finesse it a little bit more so it's a bit more round, just to take up that slack a little bit more. So the tongue will go in between here and it will push it out a little bit more, so I will have to take a little bit more off it and shape it a little bit more. So, but all in all, that was about an hour and a half or so just to get to that. But yeah, so tomorrow I'll try and come back and finish that off, and then I can start to look at making the piping. But let's have a quick look on the manifold. All right, I don't know what the camera's looking at, but hopefully it's looking at here. So we already have one of these on here, which is what this is welded to, and that guy, that poses a problem. Didn't think that through. So I'm going to have to cut this off and then reposition it so I can get that guy on, because it's absolutely imperative that I be able to do that. But I should be able to get in there, cut that off, reposition this, and let me get that on. But you can see roughly where it's going to work, and then if I'm lucky, so close. Okay, repositioned. Now that can go on there, that can go on here, or we can do a 45, that can shoot down over there, and then we can have another 45 coming off here and into here. So, and then we've got another guy coming off this lower runner, and that's going to come off there, something like that, into here, and as you can see, it'll flow real nice into the wastegate. So, yeah, plenty of room around everywhere, so I've got no problems with space. But that's going to be tomorrow's job. So, yeah, I will leave it for there for now, finish up for the night, and I'll be back tomorrow to hopefully get some more stuff done on this. Hey lads and ladettes, I'm back in the fab room working on the Subaru manifold. And now, last video I did when I was doing this for another engine, I missed out the part where I made the runners. So I figured I'll use this one as an example to show you exactly what I've been doing or how to do it. Now I'm sure there's lots of videos on YouTube that show you this exact same thing, but everyone I guess has a different way of doing it, I don't know. Or maybe you just like watching what we do, so I figured I'll show you anyway. So what I'm going to be doing here, I've already welded this guy up for the most part. I made this over the last, I made this yesterday actually. It's all welded onto the flange apart from this section in there, which I can't currently get to because of this brace. So that will be removed once I'm finished making the tubing. And I've already cleaned up some of these guys. So I've got one of those, another one of those, and then a 45. So what I'm doing here is this guy is going to sit on here. That's probably going to go something like that. See how that's positioned there, bit of space here. Right, so what's going to happen there is a 45 is then going to go on the end, and then pretty much a straight shoot down to that runner. On the back here, we've got a similar type thing. That's going to come off the side here, and I may just give it a little bit of a cut there, angle it there so it can go straight into that runner, and that will be a nice straight shoot into there as well. So nice and easy, not many bends needed, and it's a nice, you know, flowing upward stream of the gases. So basically when you're doing wastegate runners, you don't want things to come off on a 90 degree. I'll show you what that means. That means if you have a pipe here coming up, you do not want the pipe to coming off the side here. What that does is it prevents the gases flowing into it correctly, and you can actually have overboosting issues. So what you want is you want it angled so that when the exhaust flows up, it flows up into the runner. So it's basic common sense when it comes to this stuff, but this ensures that you've got the correct flow for the exhaust gases and nothing's, you know, starved. So it will also ensure that your wastegate is working properly and the correct amount of gases are getting to it to help it open. Anyway, so here we go. So I'm going to set this up on the stand here, and then I'll just piece through. I'll try and talk through what I'm doing, and hopefully it starts making some sense. So let's go get this sorted and see how long it takes me to get done. All right, let's have a look at this. So my initial plan is to put this guy on and then have this guy run down to there so that I'm on the upward slope of the exhaust gases and everything's hunky-dory. However, it may work better if this guy goes on there. Oh, that's not going to work. As you can see, well, you can't see, but this wants to interfere with this runner. So our only option at this point, and the cleanest and fastest option, is to do this. So what I'll do, get my pen ready, put that there, roughly where we want it, and then we grab that guy, and that's pretty much how it needs to be. Now, if I go too much forward that way, it's going to interfere with this second runner, and it's not going to want to sit correctly. And we do want a little bit of a gap if we can have it. So let's mark you roughly there. So now I can get my welder and quickly tack that on. So unfortunately I have some music playing in the background, but it gives me a chance to explain to you what's going on here. So as you can see, I've got my ruler out and I am just checking to see how long of a piece of steel that I'm going to need to make this runner. Now I'm taking into consideration the length I'm going to need extra to make the notch that's going to be placed onto that first runner or second runner there. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I'm doing here. Alright, hey team, back, and I just went ahead and got this done by accident, but long story short, I've got a 90, a 45 which has been mildly trimmed, and then I had my piece of pipe here. Now I had to make this piece first and then add the joiner in here, pretty typical of it happening, but long story short, this just sits in here like that and lines up to there. So now that I've got all of everything marked, what I need to do now is cut out this channel, and right beside me here I have my plasma cutter. So we're going to go ahead and get that cut out now, and then we can look at welding this on and then doing this last pipe around the back here. So without further ado, check it. Yeah, it's good enough. Now also remember, before you put this near an engine that you're going to start, because we're modifying it so much, we're cutting holes in it, we're making a mess, always wash everything out. So give it a blowout with air if you've got it, and then give it a wet wash. We've got a parts washer bin, and it's got some sort of solution in there that basically breaks down oily substances, because if you just wash it with water, yes, you get the most of it out, but sometimes if you're using stuff like, you know, cutting compound and stuff like that, there'll be oily residue which the filings will stick to, and you don't want that either going through your engine or your turbo or anything important. So it's best just to wash everything out first, and then you can start your engine and do what you need to do. But now we're ready to tack this on. I'm happy with how that is sitting, so let's get this done. Cool. Well, that's pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll flip it over, I'll do a couple more tacks on it, get it nice and strong. There is a bit of a gap on this inside, so basically I'm going to need to weld this side around fully so that when I weld that side it pulls it, or it doesn't pull it too far. So yeah, anyway, let's get this done. Okie dokie. So, all in all, I think that's taken me about 3 hours today to make this guy, weld this guy, weld it all on, make the hole and everything like that. And as you can see, it's going to nicely flow into there, into the wastegate, out the wastegate. Everything's nice and rigid. Everything's fully welded around. Now I can go on to making this last runner. Once that's done, it can go into the car and then we can start to make the downpipe. So the only thing there is I need to decide which turbo I'm going to be running, and I think because the Skyline's not apart yet, I'm not going to use that turbo right away. I'm probably going to use the Borg-Warner S300 just because it's there and it's not currently being used, and I may have two of them. So I might as well mock everything up for that. And then if need be, what I'm thinking is I might do an adapter for the downpipe so that I can switch between the two turbos. But this guy will stay the same, but where the downpipe comes off, there'll probably be a V-band or something like that so I can switch between the two turbos. That's my goal, well that's my plan anyway. So once the Skyline comes apart, we can basically just chuck everything on, or the other thing that we can do is on the dyno we can switch turbos and just see what they're going to run, see where the one that's on the Skyline now, if that falls over, how much power we can make off it, and then compare it to the likes of the Borg-Warner S300 that we've got. But time will tell. I think I'd like to do that if we've got the time to do it. But I mean this project's coming along, so yeah, one runner to do, then we can bolt it in the car and we can start the rest of the fab work. I might even this week try to order my water to air cooler. That would be cool, because that means that we can get all of the fab work done on this car, or at least the majority of it, and then this car is actually going to come together pretty quick, aside from the gearbox side of things. So yeah, I'm getting excited, looking forward to doing all this sort of stuff, but yeah, but I'll leave that for now. It is now Monday, a public holiday, and I'm here finishing off this manifold. Now, I have made this pipe, I've already pre-notched it, and as you can see, I've already cut out the porthole and cleaned it up, ready to go. So this guy is going to go on here like that, and everyone's going to be happy. So, what I'm about to do is I'm about to weld this guy up, so I thought I'd take you along for the ride. Now, this one was actually really easy to make, however this one was not. This one took me about 3 hours or so to make, and this guy took me about 45 minutes by the time I trimmed this back, cut the notch on there, trimmed that back, and then chopped it to length, and then yeah, and then maybe another 15 minutes or so to cut this out and clean it up. So yeah, it's all pretty much ready to go. So with that, I'm going to get straight into the welding and finalize this guy, and then from here on I can clean up where the braces were sitting. I can clean up the manifold where things are welded to for our initial braces, and then I can put it on the car and start to make the downpipe. So without waffling on, let's get this welded up. we are now 100% done in terms of the manifold. So there is a little bit of cleanup to go, but apart from that, it's all done. So I'll check the straightness across here, and then we'll see if we need to put this in the mill and machine it flat. But yeah, apart from that, I've got a couple little things to clean up on it, and she's all done. So from here in, I can put this in the car, I can bolt the turbo on, and I can start to make the downpipe, but that's not happening today. So I'm going to lock this episode off here. I'll clean this up off camera, there's no need for you to see that. And then the next part you'll see will be me, or maybe Mike and some other people working at making the downpipe and plumb back pipe and everything for this turbo setup. Now, the reason we're going for plumb back is we have the intention to road register this car. So it was registered in this country before, but it's since been what we call deregistered. So now we need to go through the process of putting it back on the road, and unfortunately in New Zealand that screamer pipes or open wastegates are not legal. So we need to plumb everything back into the exhaust, which also is a reason why we need a 4-inch exhaust as opposed to maybe like a 3-inch exhaust. So yeah, we're going to be plumbing this back. It's going to look pretty sick when it's all done with all the piping coming down the back of the gearbox and everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chapter of this. But for this part, she's all done. I'm happy, and I'm going to get on with the rest of my public holiday. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.